She had big hands anyway. Very ugly.
Who did?
Cynthia.
Oh yeah.
She was very rough looking.
She
Well,
told
it
us
was
all
kind of a
the
rough
time.
life.
Yeah.
Said that they couldn't distinguish that she
Except for her blue
was covered in
eyes.
so much blood and guts from handling the buffalo hides all the time. You can't really tell, are they brown, are they white people, are they big old man hands and the big forearms, strong.
But she did have the blue eyes, and that's what.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the Comanche connection. That's where you descend from. Okay. In that same generation, Coxes. Emmett Cox. And there's a page here. And the Coxes. The Coxes had come in again as immigrants through Virginia, then around Mecklenburg, and established themselves.
Also Scottish.
Also Scottish.
Also Scottish. But as they were established in here, then they decided that the whole clan, like apparently, was going to move to Missouri. And according to this, now this is from Ancestry.com. However, if you take information on that from that and you read, and you're going to attach that to your history, you have to be sure that it's right. So you do other searches to be sure that the people that they're talking about are actually yours. But this was on someone else's family site. Tradition relates that members of the Cox family left Virginia with the intention of settling in the West, possibly Missouri. This seems to have been the early years of the 18th century. Story continues saying that serious illness struck one family member and the group stopped in an area now known as Hopkins County, which is over here by Paducah. Paducah, Kansas. Paducah, Kentucky. Paducah, Kentucky. Perhaps the Kentucky group found that in Hopkins County more appealing because they decided to remain and become residents. The Missouri Coxes and the Coxes of Hopkins County are still in touch as late as 1850s. Anyway, but what happened was then some of them decided to go ahead and go on to Missouri. And a group of them did, and they went to Osceola, Missouri, and settled there. Okay. Osceola, Missouri. Remember Osceola? And that's where Emmett Cox was born. Okay. His father, Joseph, and their group had moved to Osceola, Missouri, established there. Okay. Emmett ahead of myself. So if you come to the page, it says Emmett Cox and Nakaiape. So Nakaiape was granddaughter of, or no, a daughter of Quartzquip. And she married Emmett Cox at the Indian agency at Fort, Anadarko by Colonel P.B. Hunt in
1883.
it says, okay, well, sometimes dates, especially if somebody dies, you're erased, can be questioned, okay? Because it could have been as early as 1880, or it could have been 1881. All I know is that Nellie Cox was born in 1882. But in places you find different dates.
So it was 9 months before that.
You find different dates. Anyway. And then on the back side of that, I put this page in here because it's very hard to document Nakayape. Except that we've got notes from those old ledgers at Anadarko Agency. But I found this, and the Quanah Parker's family is one of the most documented and certified and known. This is one of the reasons why I want to be sure everybody understood the relationship. Because they are protective of it, and there are like 100 separate family trees. I mean, individuals who include the same information. And a couple of them have these warnings on them. There are no unknown Parkers. If you cannot prove that you are, anyway, everybody knows if they're, a descendant of Quanah Parker. However, on one of the Parker family trees, they have included Nakayape as Emmett Cox's first wife. Nakayape was his first wife. They had Nellie. Then she died. He married then Quanah Parker's daughter, Namakua. And they had 5 or 6 more children. Nellie was, of course, their older sister. Namakua brought Nanny Nina. It's on the census rolls, Nanny Nina. She was married before too. And she had a daughter, Nanny Nina. She brought that with them. On some, even Parker family things, it includes her as a child of Emmett Cox. No, not the Indian rolls. They don't do that because they know that. But I came across some materials from Fannin County, Texas, where they're real proud of Emmett Cox, but they have the information all wrong. And they have him as daughters of his first wife, Nellie, and Nanny Nina. Well, I had never heard that name before in my life or any of my research or anything. Nellie was an only child from Nakayape and Emmett. And who's this Nanny Nina? So I got on the ancestry.com and looking. You go to the census rolls, and there she is. It'll say Emmett Cox had a house, and then Namakua, at that time wife, and then it says Nellie, daughter, Nanny Nina, daughter, and then it goes through all of the other children too.
Do you have sons too, or was it all girls?
Sons. Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't differentiate stepdaughters?
It does not. It just says, the column says, a relationship to head of household, to his daughter, wife, and like that. And I thought, who the heck is Nanny Nina? I never heard of her in my life. So, but on the side, I don't know if you've ever been on this, there's a lot of stuff on the side. You can click on that, this little leaves Twitter. This may be connecting you, so you click on that. And it brought me to another family tree where it had Nanny Nina, and it had it under, Namakua, and, like that. So, it says information protected. Oh, it had a story or something about it, But you can mark it private, and people can't view it. But then there's always a place that you could ask for permission. so I clicked on that and I wrote a little thing out there, about my great-grandmother's now Cox, but I didn't know she had a sister and what, And so I got a raging email back. Why was that my business and how did I get that information to contact her? And I go, well, you just click on this thing on ancestry.com to ask permission for that information, So anyway, she friendly down after a few emails, but anyway. In the meantime, I remembered something, and I dug through my stuff. And when a few years ago, when we went out to Oklahoma, and we went to the Parker family reunion, and there's Cox's, in Cox's descendants and stuff like that. They're all there, stuff like that. And Quanah Cox's wife, Mary Frances, is sort of the family historian for all those back there, stuff like that. And she had sent me information that laid it all out. And it's exactly how the two of them came together. Emmett and Nakaipe came together, and Emmett and Namakua came together, and each one of them already had a daughter. And Nanny Nina was the daughter from Namakua's earlier marriage. So, now there was an only child, where, she did not have a blood sister.
She later had
Same
some
fathers,
Right.
same father, different mothers. So,
But she's not related to Nanny
exactly,
Nina.
but no, just as,
Not to Nanny Nina, but.
At all.
Yeah, right.
yeah. So anyway, that's it. And the only reason I printed that out for you, because it's from a Parker family tree, is because it's the only place on Ancestry.com that it's actually documented Nakai Bay Cox, that he was married before. Then, from then on, you need to know that what Emmett Cox's life was like in there. He did marry two Comanche women, and raised a family from there. And he was he started out. Okay, I told you that they had gone, that the Coxes had gone to Osceola, Missouri. And I was reading some information about him and different things like that. And I came to this one place. Again, almost any time you read about the Comanches, or a book about Quanah Parker, look in the index and look up Emmett Cox. And he's in there. Because he was a son-in-law then of Quanah Parker, and he acted as an interpreter. He also he had a post store. He was a trader,
Mercantile.
mercantile, okay. And so again, I'm not going to go through and read all these different things. There's a lot of information in newspaper clippings about, when his big house burnt down. Because he got to be, fairly well off, and built a big house in Lawton, and then it burnt down. It talks about the historical landmark burning down, he was way dead, but, anyway, and all. But as I was going through some of these things and putting them in here about different books and stuff where he's mentioned, it tells him what he did. He worked as an interpreter and generally aided and things like that. And he's in all of Indian history and in all of the allotments and all of the, because almost all Indian tribes now either have gotten allotments or they have reservation lands or things like that. And you have to be an Indian. You have to be an Indian, and you have to be what that tribe describes as, there's some tribes that go down to 164th now.
Oh, wow.
And it was only a few years back that we voted to even make it an 8th. And so, in all the Indian tribes and all the things, there are only 17 people who were given full tribal membership and are considered full Indian. And Emmett Cox was one of them.
Now, my understanding is that's why we are considered an 8th, because blood-wise we're only a 16th, but we're on the books as an 8th because of him, right?
Yeah.
Because he had full membership status.
So,
In
anyway,
actuality, he had no Native American in him at all.
no. So he was born in Osceola, Missouri, after they moved on from somebody being sick and, you know, someone decided to stay in Kentucky and the others moved on to Osceola. So then I came across this in the Chronicles of Oklahoma. It's old papers, history things. Anyway, it says, Emmett Cox, a native of Missouri whose family had been driven out of the state during the Civil War, seeking refuge in Texas, came among the Comanches in the early 1890s. He married a daughter of Quanah Parker. No mention of his first wife. He married a daughter of Quanah Parker. As a man, he was distinguished for his fine sense of humor, honesty, and truthfulness. He was especially valued as an interpreter. For this reason, and the Indians respected him and were readily influenced by him. And anyway, I marked down the, volume 14, 1936, Oklahoma Historical Society Chronicles of Oklahoma.
Now, why was his family driven out?
Star students! See, this is what excites me about reading these old dry historical things. I go, driven
I know, that's just sort of
out?
thrown in there with no
Boom!
explanation, right?
See? Immediately I go, why were they driven out of Osceola? Why were they driven out of Missouri? So I just typed in Missouri, Civil War. Of course, boom, comes up. Come on, students! Tell me about Bleeding, Kansas.
Had nothing. Public school.
I didn't learn any of that.
It was when they go back and forth across the border to influence the vote as far as if Kansas comes
They
in
called
as
it
a
Bleeding,
slave.
Kansas because it's
Outside
right on
of
the
what's
border.
going on.
Missouri and Kansas are like this.
Like the border was
It-
bleeding?
It was just awful, yeah. One was Union and one was Rebel, you see.
And they were living in a different than what they believed in, right? Different.
Yeah. Osceola was a hotbed of Confederacy.
Okay, that's yeah.
We are from a long line of redneck Confederates
Here,
on all sides.
I'll drink to that.
Not just the Carsters, all sides.
All right, that down, Steve will love that.
So I'm reading about Bleeding Kansas and all the different things and stuff like that, and then up comes this article on sacking of Osceola. The sacking of Osceola was a Union Jayhawk initiative on September 23rd, 1861, to push out pro-Southern elements at Osceola, Missouri. It was not authorized by the Union military authorities, but the work was of an informal group of Kansas pro-Union Jayhawkers. The town of 3,000 people, including this old branch of Cox's, was plundered and burned to the ground
So wait a minute, this was an unauthorized action?
by the Union military.
So couldn't they have like, I don't know, fought it or
It was
kick up?
unauthorized yet authorized.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, couldn't they have legal grounds to come back and reclaim their
Oh, yeah,
stuff
let's get
afterwards?
restitution.
Yeah, let's all go claim their land in Osceola.
Would you what?
I'm not quoting much of an expert.
Yeah.
I've been as far as Nebraska, and
So-
it was like a big thing in Kansas. Like, if
did
you
you know
are
that?
in Nebraska, Kansas people are not good. That was like a big thing. Like, oh, he's from Kansas, and that would explain it all, I guess. That was like a big thing.
Exactly. So they ran them out. So so that's why when they were run out of Osceola, because they were Confederates, and they said,
I just wanna know so much more.
burn the town to the ground.
Why were they Confederate sympathizers and like what, you know? I wanna know.
Because they were running.
Everybody came in through Virginia.
Okay, all right, yeah.
They were all Southerners, back to the 1600s. Okay?
Well, that's disappointing too. Because I sympathize with.
They can help you guys.
Oh, now you do.
It's the same with on my dad's side of the family. I'm from a long line of draft dodgers.
I mean, so like according to all this, like our ancestors who had these plantations, that means we were slave owners as well, right?
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
So anyway, they were run out of Osceola. So where did they run to? They went from Osceola to Bonham, Texas, which is right here on the border of Oklahoma and Texas. 1980, or 1880 census shows that, I can't think of his first name, but anyway, Joseph Cox, head of household, his wife, some children, then Emmett, brother of the head of household, single, occupation butcher. So they gone to Bonham, Texas, it's up there, and Emmett, in his 20s, was a butcher, so was his brother. Both their occupations were listed as butcher. And so from there then, he worked with cattlemen. And that's what brought him into Indian territory, through the cattlemen, you know, trading and stuff. And then he got up to around Lawton and, you know, in Fort Sill, and had a trade store and everything like that. So he was more of a merchant, and that's how he met the Indian women that he eventually married, apparently, you know, that.
So he was not necessarily working with the tribes before he married. His marriage was what opened the door for him to work with the tribes. I'm just wondering, because at the time there was so much prejudice,
You
I'm
just have to
wondering why
speculate.
this
Mhm.
white southerner would marry two Indian women.
Yeah, you just have to
You know.
Well,
speculate,
see,
you know.
Kim, we
those
weren't all
stories.
bad.
Please say we're all bad.
Anyway, so that's it. And there's more information in there about,